Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo on this beautiful day as we explore what it means to be a people of renewal. My name is Bobby Withrow, and I use he, him pronouns, and I have the privilege of serving this morning as the worship associate. And today's worship leader will be our wonderful interim minister, the Reverend Cathy Harrington. No matter who you love, how you identify, where you come from, or your religious or non-religious background, you are welcome here. And also, we want to wish everyone a happy Father's Day, the fathers, the fathering figures, and anyone who has done the fathering. We wish to acknowledge that the ground and the land on which this church stands and where we worship this morning is the ancestral land of the Seneca Nation, the keepers of the western door of the Haudenosaunee people. We honor them and strive to help them as they continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. We have just a few announcements this morning. First, volunteers are needed for the memorial receptions for three of our beloved members. First, Don Shedd on June 22nd, Gretchen Ashton on June 29th, and Nancy Thomas on July 20th. If you would like to volunteer or help that, please see Nancy Wilkins or Lucy Sloan at coffee hour. Next up, we will be an official bathroom stop for the Garden Walk on July 27th and 28th. And we are looking for volunteers to help us keep our doors open during this time. This will also be a small fundraiser for the church as well. So please volunteer for a short time slot by signing up through the link in the e-blast. Also, the Buffalo Bisons have given us a section for a baseball game on August 9th, and a portion of the ticket sales will directly go to us. Tickets are only $16 each, which is $5 cheaper than the tickets when you buy them there. You can also buy flex tickets that can be used for any game in the season. See Thea Hassan or Alex Gayutza in the parish hall after the service if you want to buy any of those tickets or to get more information. Again, that's another way for us to bring in some money. And finally, one last one. This is from Jess Pond. There will be an all-ages RE activity outside on the patio today after the story for all ages. All children or youth are invited to join Jess outside after the story for fun and fellowship. And that's enough of that. So, it's now time to greet your neighbor. So I invite you to unveil the bonds that bind each of us to all. Take a moment to greet your neighbor, or not if you don't want to. You can also stay seated and just be quiet and enjoy the sanctuary. But possibly say hello to someone you may not even know.
You can take this one because I Good morning. It's good to see you all this morning. I'm Reverend Cathy Harrington, interim minister, and I also wanted to thank our musicians this morning, and also our tech folks who always take care of us so well, and our ushers. I don't know if some of you know that Thaddeus joined this church when he was 26 years old. And he has been ushering for you for 43 years. So let's give him a round of applause. This is the kind of faithful we need, right? So I want to start this morning, our opening words are by Reverend Gretchen Haley. I know we have dreams of saving the world, but let's try today for a smaller scale. Let's tend this hour to the space here in the hollows of our chest, the in and the out of our breath. Let's begin in our bodies, in this moment, in this letting go and taking in this silence. Let us find here the beating of our own hearts. Listen. The steady pulse that has carried us this far, the dreams of our lives represent the call of those who kept getting out of bed so that we could be here today. Breathing and finding the beat that calls to us even now, behind the noise of grief or fear or overwhelm. Already we are beloved. Already we are enough. And these bodies are a gift. This life is a gift. This earth is a gift. And we are here only to listen, letting it pull on our hearts with this steady healing hope, in and out. Beloveds, you are enough. Pass it on. Come, let us worship together.
Please rise as you're willing and able as we read our chalice lighting words together as printed in your order of service. We gather in loving community, creating a shared vision of compassion and dignity for all to radically transform the world in which we live. And please stay standing as we sing hymn 183, The Wind of Change Forever Blown. Hymn 183 in your great hymnal.
And now it's time for the story for all ages. If the children and the young of heart who would like to come forward, we have a story this morning called We Are Better Together. Is it on now? Okay, all right, yes. We Are Better Together by Bill McKibben. Yesterday we had a wonderful Worship Associates meeting, and we got on the topic of climate anxiety and how it's affecting our millennials and our Gen X and Gen Z. So this is a story, I think, is Bill McKibben the science guy? Oh, that's Bill Nye. Oh, okay. Okay, another Bill, okay. All right, the human game is a team sport. It took a band, a clan, a community to raise humans to adulthood. We hunted together in groups. With our complex language, we are able to keep track of one another. And when we work together, we can do incredible things. We can harness the power of the sun. We can reforest the land. We can help lost sea turtles find their way to the ocean. And we can explore the farthest reaches of space. And looking back, we can see how we are changing our planet. It's a beautiful, oops, that's okay. It's a beautiful, fragile place worthy of protection. We can accept with grace that each of us has a moment and a place, that our humanness is important. We have the tools to allow us to stand up to the powerful and the reckless. Just take a moment to look at some of these signs that are speaking to the issues that we need to address. Yes, we need to save our planet. There is no planet B. It's love that works to feed the hungry. It's love that comes together in defense of sea turtles and sea ice and all else around us that is good. It is love that lets us, each of us, see we're not the most important thing on earth and makes us okay with that. It's love that welcomes us imperfect into the world. We live on an unbearably beautiful planet, a planet that needs us humans to play together, to cooperate. We're capable of acting together to do remarkable things. So let's get started soon. And that's the end. And what was your favorite part of the story?
I liked the bike ride for climate change, and there was a dog and a cat in the baskets of the bikes, if you know.
Oh, I missed that. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, now we're going to sing our children to the patio.
Each week, we take a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and give it away to a deserving social justice cause or organization outside of our church walls. This month, we are supporting and highlighting the good work of Self-Advocacy Association of New York State. The Self-Advocacy Association of New York State, or SANUS, I believe it's pronounced, is run by and for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Started over 35 years ago by people who lived in New York State institutions, their mission is to speak up for themselves and for others. They teach people with intellectual and developmental disabilities how to advocate for themselves, both individually and systemically, start self-advocacy groups, and host local gatherings and conferences. Self-advocates trained and supported by SANUS have consulted with UUCB on recent plans to make the church more accessible, successfully advocated for a City of Buffalo ADA coordinator, and won $750,000 for the NFTA to study paratransit expansion and improvements. If you'd like to donate, you can go to our website and click on the Donate button. From there, you can select if you want to donate to the church or to Sanus. You can drop some money in the offering plate when it comes by, send in a check, or arrange for automatic contributions from your checking account. No matter how you choose, know that the money helps us and our partners to live out our missions to help those in our community. And now, let this morning's offering be taken up with humility to support the good work.
Come gather round, people, wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, and accept that it's soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you better get swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin, and there's no telling who that it's naming, for the losers now will be later to win, for the times they are changing. Come senators, congressmen, please heed the call. Don't stand in the doorway, don't block the hall, for he that gets hurt will be he that has stalled. There's a battle outside and it's raging. It'll soon shake your windows and rattle your walls, for the times they are changing. Come mothers and fathers throughout the land, and don't criticize what you can't understand. Your sons and your daughters are beyond your command. Your road is rapidly aging. Please get out a new one if you can't lend your hand, for the times they are changing. The line it is drawn, the curse it is cast. The slow one now will later be fast, as the present now will be later be past. The order is rapidly fading, the first one now will later be last, for the times they are changing.
Music has a way of reaching back into your memories. When I was 12 years old, my brother had a date, it stood him up. And I was the only one home, and he took me to the concert to see Bob Dylan. I still remember what I wore. A little plaid wool skirt with a vest. It was really amazing. Anyway, sorry. So, in the center of our service and in the center of our lives, let us pause to honor the silences of the world. Let us open our hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. This morning, we think of our fathers, our stepfathers, or those in our lives who were fathers to us. There's a Father's Day prayer by Amy Jones. Today is Father's Day, so we take this moment to hold space for all that may mean to us. We hold love for those who have lost fathers and for those fathers who have lost children. We acknowledge and hold non-binary, transgender, and cisgender dads and families made of two dads, and foster and adoptive dads, and single dads. We hold and work to lift up all fathers of color and those fathers raising children of color. We hold fathers kept apart from their children by borders and wars. We hold fathers and children who have lost connection, children who have been disowned or abandoned by their fathers, and the father figures who stepped up. We hold those longing to become fathers. And we hold those who may be full of questions about their biological fathers. And most importantly, we hold and thank the dads, the papas, the daddies, and all who show up every day to give their all to their children who need them. And for those dads who are struggling, may this day land gently. Human relations are complicated. These days of recognition are complex. So please take a moment to breathe in what serves you and to breathe out that which does not. Let us pause for a moment of silence. This morning I share a sorrow. Sylvia Ann Kleindenas died on Wednesday, June 12th. Sylvia was a faithful online attendee who discovered while watching that she was a Unitarian in her later years. Let us hold her daughter and her family in our hearts during their difficult time of loss and grief, and may her memory be a blessing. I lit a candle for her this morning. And now let us fill the sanctuary with the names of all of our loved ones suffering in sorrow or celebrating in joy, each name a breath, each breath a prayer. And may they feel love's embrace. The breath of nature is upon us, the spirit of life is within us, and the community of love is among us. So be it, blessed be, and let the church say, Amen.
This morning's reading is a responsive reading. We're going to read our new UUCB covenant. Now, the covenant is located on the back of your order of service in the bottom right corner. So, I'm going to read a line, then you'll read a line back and forth. Just look up at me and I'll hopefully steer you in the right direction. So, we, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, beginning with ourselves as we are, covenant together in love to celebrate and find joy in our diversity, honor our history and heritage while staying open to the future, be generous with our time and treasure, strive for truth and justice within and beyond our congregation, relate to all who come here with kindness, respect, and compassion, learn from one another, and honor the sacred in all its expressions. When we fail, we will acknowledge our shortcomings, make amends as we can, give and seek forgiveness, and move forward again in love and community.
Wow, we've almost made it through our first year of interim ministry. Yes. We ministers like to say, well, we're often saying that this time of year we're a little crispy. So we're ready for our time off. A General Assembly is usually when it kicks off. And that's next week. It's very exciting. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what we've done in the last year. This is just a little. When my dog and I, Zoe, and I found our way to Buffalo in the middle of July 2023, the search committee who I interviewed with was here waiting at the church to say hello and to welcome me. I thought that was really warm. I was comforted. It's always moving into a new town is a little bit, trepidatious. And my apartment was sight unseen. So, that was also a worry. It turned out okay. And I had already met on Zoom with Julie Taylor, who assured me that the worship associates had planned the entire summer so that I did not have to preach at all in August. I could unpack and get ready to begin serving. That was really nice. That's one of the most important. I think this is the first church I've served as an interim that actually did that for me. And it's something that, all ministers really need, especially your settled ministers. So it'll be a real gift to them when they show up here and are welcomed in that same way. So one of the most important ministerial tasks of my first 2 weeks in Buffalo was to prepare for the memorial service of longtime member Veronica Hogel, which was on August 10th. I started on August 1st. Veronica had been writing columns for the newspaper, many of you may remember them, and I was able to find them online, so I felt like after reading these wonderful stories, memories of hers, that I knew her. It made the service a lot easier. Her beautiful twin daughters also shared memories to fill in the gaps. I really feel like I passed my first ministerial test, except for the sound was a mess. We've improved that. I attended service every Sunday in August to get a feel for your style and habits, and I preached on the first Sunday in September, which was September 4th. Something to Believe in, which was sort of my introductory sermon. I don't know if all of you have heard it, but it was just very early. Labor Day weekend, I think so. But anyway, it was really just so you could get to know me and see what you got yourself into. And the first main task of an interim minister is to be different from your previous minister, and I think I passed that test too. So it was like in the first week when I was here that our lovely part-time office manager, Kayla, let me know that she would be leaving in September because of school. So that was a little stressful. But we managed to find Jen, which was such a gift. So congregations in transition have a unique opportunity to evaluate their ministry, prepare the ground for new settlement. There are two metaphors that describe the transitional task, some of them. The first metaphor is breaking up solid ground to allow for seeds to take root. This is not to say that an interim minister's job is to come in and shake everything up, although that tends to happen sometimes. But it is really it's time to help you discern what changes you may need to make now in this time of transition. Congregations in transition are in some form of crisis, regardless of whether their departure of their senior minister or ministers was smooth and expected. So it just sort of throws everything into question. What's going to happen to us? Because of COVID, we've heard that there are shortages of ministers, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking to think, will we find a minister? The interim's job in partnership with lay leaders is to discern what fields need to be overturned and to permit new growth, and which ones need to just lay fallow. But it didn't take me long to realize that you needed a full-time office person. Half-time was not going to be enough, although we did search for a half-time, and we found Jen. But at the January meeting, you were given the choice between two budgets. One would be balanced with half-time, and the other was a deficit budget with a full-time office person. And you overwhelmingly voted to staff for growth, to invest in the future of this church. Mind you, we still have a deficit, but Jen is earning her keep in a multitude of ways. She's helping us, your church, rebound from COVID. And I think it was a courageous commitment that you made to live your values and to nurture and sustain this historic, heroic, and hopeful ministry that has been changing lives in Buffalo since the 1830s. So I knew then that ministerial transition, conflicts, previous conflicts, and even COVID had not broken the spirit or the core of this congregation. Your foundation was built from the will and the hard work of your ancestors, who longed for a religious community that could take a stand against injustice, create possibility and hope for those who were excluded and exploited by those in power. When I got here, new energy was already emerging. I'll never forget meeting Nate as I walked through the kitchen to the parking lot after touring the church. There was cooking going on, and he said, "Hey, I'm Nate. We're here cooking with Food Not Bombs." And I was like, "Oh, I know Food Not Bombs." When I did street retreats in the Tenderloin of San Francisco, Food Not Bombs showed up at Union Square every Wednesday night with a hatchback car and a big barrels of soup and bread that was donated from the local bakeries, which, you know, in San Francisco was really good. It was the best meal we were to have all week. And that was the beginning of a collaboration that we now call the food ministry. Nate had a vision, remembering his youth when he was running through the parish hall and there was all this joy and energy happening, people breaking bread together. And he wanted to bring that back. There are a lot of reasons why that had diminished, but let's blame it on COVID. So the kitchen was a mess. I mean, a bit of a mess. I almost put in here the word disaster, but I didn't want to do that. But I did it. So we hired a professional cleaning service to come and wash the walls, the appliances, the floors, and the day after Thanksgiving, a bunch of us went into the kitchen and started painting, cleaning. It was a huge improvement, but it's still not the full transformation the kitchen needed. Along the way, there have been generous donations to improve the kitchen. Teal Postula and her husband purchased new ceiling tiles. I don't know if you even remember what that ceiling looked like before them. There were gifts from the kitchen wish list Christmas tree that were donated to the kitchen. Nate has been organizing and cleaning and recreating that kitchen with some of his own money, buying small equipment and supplies. Alex and Simon Richard recently purchased a commercial refrigerator, so the food ministry could store their supplies separate from all of the other things going on in the church. Several months after I got here, there was a lot of confusion about how to finance coffee hour because there was no money allotted in the budget. But that was resolved by calling it food ministry. There's a line in the budget for ministry team. So this team now is food ministry. So the way it works is, and I know I'm not, you may sound like a broken record, but I think it bears repeating. Nate and the hospitality volunteers are able to buy food for the next Sunday from the donations that you donate. It's only possible because it's only supported by that. I threatened to put an ATM machine in the parish hall. I don't know, I don't know if you're like me, I don't carry cash much. But you can donate by QR code or check or make a donation on the website. And I've heard recently that there's somebody who wants to donate $1,000 to buy a new convection oven, which has been my dream. We can make some bagels and some cookies. But a decent convection oven costs around $6,000, but a good used one is possible. So your old ovens, the big stove, the old ovens are garbage, but the big stove, according to some guy who came to fix it, said it's somewhat of a rare relic. It's either worth reviving or selling. So I also want to talk about, so this is how energy happens. It's synergy. It's like this generosity is contagious. You may know, so you may have heard that Tim Ashton is buying a screen. We're having a screen installed. We've already made the first down payment. It'll go up and down. A big projector at the back with a big lens so that our streaming will be better than ever. And there will be sound to it so we can come in here and watch movies. And the General Assembly Sunday service is available for us to watch, but we really can't do it right now. But maybe in September we can have a special viewing of it. So this is how church magic works. I know that Joan spoke about church magic. When someone has a vision, a creative passion or calling, there is a synergy that happens. Teilhard de Chardin, the Catholic priest, scientist also, whose writings were censored by the Catholic Church until after his death, his secretary published them without permission, which was great. He was too radical for the Catholics, but he wrote a book called The Divine Milieu that I had to read in a class, and I think you know how you read, you sort of interpret things the way you want to interpret them. So here's the line that I read. Automatically, by a sort of living determinism, the individual divine milieu, in proportion as they establish themselves, tend to fuse with one another, and in this association, they find a boundless increase of their ardor. My interpretation means 1 + 1 = 3. He could have said that easier. I think it means there's a creative energy all around us that increases when we bind our resources and our hope together. And we're seeing that right now with the capital campaign and all of the energy around that. So I've witnessed this phenomenon many times in my lifetime, and I'm seeing it here. The second metaphor for the work of an experienced minister is pruning. Good pruning requires careful study, sharp tools, and a knowledge of the plant as a whole. So, you know, when plants are allowed to grow without pruning, they kind of, they become weakened by their neglect. So some programs that had been started may have run out of energy. So the interim minister looks for things that maybe could be pruned. Of course, with care, a lot of care. So my first meeting with the capital campaign team was in August, and it was hot in my office. The air conditioning was broken. And we were talking, and this was even before you had the news that you'd gotten the grant from the National Foundation for Sacred Places. The carpet upstairs was littered with dark stains. There was water damage in the stairwell. The list of things that they needed to fix in this old building was overwhelming. It felt like a money pit, kind of like giving blood to a vampire. So I was so overwhelmed, I said out loud without thinking, "You should consider selling this place and relocating and rebuilding a new building." You could hear a pin drop. Churches all over the country are doing this, by the way, so I felt like, I had some knowledge, but what I didn't have was a careful understanding of this church. I didn't have time to see the church as a whole. I had barely arrived, and I made assumptions based on what I knew, projected it onto you, and I was wrong. Thank goodness it didn't take me long to realize how wrong I was. And it began with worship. Working with Jesse, the music staff, and the choir was transformational. I had spiritual experiences in the pulpit, which I hadn't had in years. It was a dream come true, really, for me to serve a church that looked like a church and to have my message, my sermon supported and enhanced through music was beyond my wildest dreams. I had rare glimpses of how powerful this can be in other churches, but to have it happen on a regular basis as the norm was amazing. So it's been said that the language of music is more powerful than words, and I know this is true. Music is a universal language. Some say it's the language of God or the soul. Certainly, it is more profound than words. When words and music fuse, they find that boundless increase in ardor. Music enhances learning. Music speaks to your body's memory. Music is said to increase the blood flow to the brain regions that generate and control emotions. The limbic system, which is involved in processing emotions and controlling memory, lights up when our ears perceive music. Music, a beautiful, sacred place to worship within our beloved community. Folks, you can't put a price on that. It's priceless. This building, its location, and its rich history is a powerful asset to the mission and ministry of this church, and music has always been a major part of that. And just look up at this beautiful sanctuary and remember, the times when the music reached the rafters. It is transcendent. I know you've experienced that. Last Sunday was a good day. Through the results of a lot of hard work, dedication, love, and energy, you affirmed your extraordinary ministerial search committee. It's always amazing to me how that comes together. Everybody's panicking, people are saying no, and then, bam, you have this amazing, perfectly balanced, diverse group of people. And they also adopted that beautiful covenant that was also born of all your efforts, your values, your ideals, and your hopes. So I just want to give you a little outline of what we're going to do next year. It's going to be really busy. You're going to be invited to participate in survey, cottage meetings, conversations with the Ministerial Search Committee. We call it the MSC. They need to articulate your mission, your vision, your hopes and dreams. And they will be asked what qualities you hope for in your settled minister. All of this is really important because they have to put together the ministerial record, the congregational record, the CR. That has to be completed in November, certainly by the middle of November, because it has to be approved by the transitions office and then reviewed, and then it'll be published on December 2nd on the website, the search website, and the searching ministers will be able to read your congregational record. They'll read all of the congregational records of churches that are in search that interest them. Then on January 2nd, magic starts to happen. And the Ministerial Search Committee will they will be given all the names of all the ministers and their ministerial records who are interested in becoming your minister. So they have to hurry. This is where they're busy. They'll be reading all those ministerial records and decide which ones they want to interview. And it's important to know that these ministers are already checking you out. They might be watching this morning. I hope they are, because I have some things to say. We need to, they're gonna look at your website, which Jen has improved tremendously, but it still needs some work. If you've taken pictures, and please use your phone and take wonderful pictures when there's fun and joy happening. When there's just fellowship in the sanctuary, take pictures and share them with Jen so that we can post those on the website. Let's show them how wonderful you are. In late August and early September, we're going to have a volunteer fair to recruit people for committees and teams. We also need, if anybody's just dying to serve in the nursery, we need to hire a nursery person. We've got babies. And so we need that nursery to be ready. We also talked yesterday about putting a pray ground, sort of a little place in the fellowship hall where we could put a couple rocking chairs and a screen so that when babies are in the church and they're crying, they can go in there and just sit in a rocking chair and watch the service. There's all kinds of fun ideas we have. Okay, back to this. So let's see. You don't have to wait for the volunteer fair. If you're eager to get involved in the church, let me know, and I will point you in the right direction. So the Ministerial Search Committee reviews all the MRs, they do their interviews, and they will choose 3 pre-candidates. On occasion, there are 4, but usually it's 3. They will come to Buffalo, they will tour the church when there's nobody here. So if you're asked to not come to church for a reason, don't come, because it needs to be confidential. And they will spend time with the Ministerial Search Committee, and they will preach in an anonymous, neutral pulpit. So this is not a one-way interview. Sometimes search teams think we're interviewing that minister. The truth is they're interviewing you as well. So it's important that we have company coming. Let's make this church look beautiful. So the final date for getting your first choice to the transitions office is Monday, March 31st. The transitions office will take all those matches and they'll put it together and send it to the search committees on April 1st and 2nd, and then they tell you that you cannot make your offer until noon on April 3rd. I've been there by the phone waiting for it to ring many times. So candidating week, they recommend it to be April 26th through May 4th. Mark your calendars, you don't want to miss it. I will disappear that week so that the candidate can be your minister. And as I prepare to leave you in June, your new minister will be preparing to come here. And they will begin work August. They'll be here, but they don't, like I said, they need August to get settled. What a whirlwind. How exciting is this? So I feel personally that you are not only ready for this search, you are just the kind of church that ministers are looking for in this post-pandemic world. You are energetic, you are joyful, you are growing, your location is prime, this building is incredible. Buffalo is the best kept secret. When Keith Cron suggested I look at Buffalo, I said, I'm not going to Buffalo. And boy, am I glad I did. I'm glad I came. I heard yesterday, and I don't know quite where it came from, that Buffalo was just named the largest city in the United States that has the largest number of people who grew up here, left, and came back. Now that's something that needs to go on the congregational record. So I'm going to close. So here it is, the city of good neighbors. I mean, I totally believe that. When I saw that, I said, oh yeah, that's it. So I want to close with these words from Patrick O'Neill. We love what we empower. We work for what we love. We invest in what we love. We try to become worthy of what we love. and of the people we love. We give of our time, our energies, our attention, and our resources so that what we love might thrive. This principle applies to this church as well. Becoming a member is about empowerment, though we don't always think of it that way. By joining a church, we declare that what that church stands for, the principles it teaches, the work it engages, the community it strives to become are all the things we hold close to our heart. By being members, we commit to empower this little institution, this big institution. We have a right, although, to expect that this church will empower us in return. Patrick O'Neill writes, it will call us to a higher ground, to greater love, to greater compassion, to greater caring for the world and its troubles, for those who are suffering and their pains, and for the deprived and their needs. It will empower us by calling us to live out our ideals and our principles in our everyday life, in everyday relationships. And it will empower our children, too. It will teach them tolerance and respect for the good and the holy. It will teach them self-love and love for others. It will provide them safety and encouragement and community in times of celebration and loss. This is our great covenant and compact as us members of this church. This is what we are here to do, to be for one another. And by what we do here, by what we contribute each in our own way, by the people we become here, by the ideals and the visions that we embrace and follow, by the families we help to share in this church, we increase the store of love and justice in this world. May it be so. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 114, Forward Through the Ages.
Forward
join with me in saying the words printed in your order of service as we extinguish the chalice. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
Howard Thurman said, "Saddle your dreams and ride them." Dreams become for us the bearer of new possibility, the enlarged horizon, and the great hope. Even as they romp among the stars, they come back to their place in our lives, bringing with them the radiance of the far heights and the lofty regions, giving to all our days a lift and the magic of the stars. This is my prayer for you and for this extraordinary church that you inherited, that you will soar and that you will share your love and your magic with the world. May it be so. Amen.
Little darling, it's been a long, long, lonely winter. Little darling, it feels like years since it's been here. Here comes the sun.